distance in the light, vibration of the thunder.
Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and this is the My Sober Addiction podcast. And we are happy, healthy, wealthy, loved, and free. And I am so happy to be having Clive and Dom with me once again. It's I've been really looking forward to this. Hello, guys. How are you?
Good to see you, man. I look forward to these. So, good to be on the bus.
Good as well. I've been staring at computer code too much. So it's nice to actually have some human conversations. Good to staring at real people for a change rather than code.
I have actually been looking into possibly taking some little online classes to do with, not necessarily code or, but maybe how to just do more. I've just gotten out of using the computers since we've, with phones and everything now. And then I'm trying to get back into using an actual computer again, because for so long it was just everything on my phone. But that's very limited. So, especially when you're trying to do a website and all that stuff, right? So
how do we tie this into today's theme then, Matt?
Well, what we were talking about, and it's like I had to take some time off from the podcast for a good, 6 weeks or so. And because there's just so much been going on, and I'm grateful for the fact that I'm able to be there for people, for the people that I love, the people that have been there with me, the people who support my recovery, for example. It's like my dad, for example. I mean, even when I was at my worst, he had never given up on me. He was always trying to find ways or looking for a way to get in and bring me back from that brink. Of course, I know that, and most people do know that, someone who is in active addiction is not going to come back until they're ready to. It's nothing you can do or say that's going to make that come along. All you can really do is get out of their way, let them hit rock bottom, but understand that, hey, when you do, I'm here for you. And that's my dad was always there for me. My whole family was. I mean, I was very fortunate. But now that I am sober and I have those same family members who are now having issues of their own and are having to go through things, and I'm able to help them. That's one of the things I've talked about recently in the podcast was how, with my Isn't It Nice series of stuff, I say, isn't it nice that now that we're sober, we can do things for people? Isn't it nice? Now I don't have to worry about being on the hustle and being on the grind and making sure I've got dope and not getting dope sick and things like that. Now I can actually go spend as much time as needed to help with things. And I don't have to worry about, oh crap, I've got to go get money, or I've got to go do this. I got to go see my dope man. You don't have to worry about those things anymore. And so now you're actually able to be available and clear-headed and just be there for people that have always been there for you. And it's a great feeling. It is. The situation sucks, but I guess at least I'm able to be there. I don't know. What do you think?
I've been going down and helping my parents out recently. They live like 3.5 hours away from me. And I'm very glad I'm in a position to do that. However, I also see the flip side for people who don't feel they're in a position to help. Like you say, if you're not feeling like you've got the energy or you're caring for yourself enough, then you've got a bit of a double whammy, really. Not only are you run down and not able to do the things that are important of value to you, but you're also then going to be, upset that you're not doing that and more likely to go for the addictive kind of kick to pick yourself back up again. And I think, once you start to actually do the things, identify the things that are important in your life and actually start to act on them, it can be a bit frightening to start with, because I really do care about helping my parents and I don't feel there's much I can do to help them. And then you kind of give up and then you just turn and have a drink instead and go, bury my head in the sand. Like, I'm never going to help. But again, it's our expectations. Like, if we expect too much, I expect that I am going to go and save them. No, not necessarily. But what I can do is show them that I care and show them that I'm going to go down and do what I can when I can. And I know Dom's in a similar situation with a friend of his who's very poorly and in some degree of care. And, it's hard because, when someone's that ill or whatever, it's like you kind of like want to look away a little bit sometimes, because it's easier to almost, but it's not, it isn't. And it's like actually to clear the decks and actually go, right, well, I'm going to do the little bit that I can and not punish myself for not doing what I would like to do, but can't necessarily do, I think is a good thing. And you talked in your message thread about, protecting your energy. And I think that's really important. The way that we talk to ourselves, when we haven't done what we think we might be or should be doing. Like, I really think I should have helped that person, but then I'll go, oh, you're not good because you didn't do that and you're rubbish. And it's like, well, actually, I did what I could, and that's
Right.
patient, and I'm okay with that. And it's not only what I've done, it's what I plan to do as well. And it's my intentions behind what I do. So if we can get all of those things in alignment and actually not be too hard on ourselves for not necessarily meeting our expectations, I think that can be a really, really healthy thing. And I think we talk about mental wealth, we want mental wealth, and mental wealth is thinking about things in a kinder way.
Yeah. Well, with Dom, that the airplane analogy that you just used as we were warming up here, I guess, I've heard that before, but it's great. I would appreciate if you would share that again. And then also how maybe how that relates to the situation you're dealing with, I assume it's the same thing you were talking about the last time we talked, but I don't know. What do you got going on?
Okay, yeah. The analogy was that sometimes you do need to get yourself in a position where you can help other people. So the analogy was when you're on an airplane and if there's any trouble and oxygen masks go down, make sure that you put yours on first, because if you're not in a good condition, you can't help the people next to you. And I do get a feeling for that. I mean, the thing about addiction or anything like that is it just sucks up our attention, and we just think about ourselves and our needs, don't we? And I think that's bad for us in so many ways that aren't that apparent until we start moving away from that zone. So it's not just the fact that we're doing things that mean that we're not healthy or that we're not going to have a good time the next day. It's the fact that our bubble, our focus is just on that zone. And there are so many other things to be doing in the world. And all of those little things that start benefiting from the fact that we're not creating a physical disparity all the time means that we start being able to kind of just move our awareness out to other things. And there's an amazing growth of awareness happens when we do that. I mean, I think of the metaphor as the growth and awareness of the world. I mean, there was a time when we only knew Europe and bits of China and places like that, and then there was a growth of awareness. We discovered new nations. I mean, it's when we have a growth of our own awareness, we start to discover things that are so much better than we even imagine. And I think that's a good direction to be going in. But one thing I'm seeing at the moment is the way that one is people are getting to be more honest about what's going on with their needs. I mean, I was literally just at a harbour, and last time we were chatting, I think I mentioned a few friends of mine who are in not very good condition right now. There's a guy who he's 81 years of age, Jack, whose wife left him. I don't know how long ago this was now. I keep telling myself it's a month.
Well, it was the last time we chatted, you had mentioned him. Actually, you had to cut off early so that you could go and meet with him. So
I literally just came from when I got the message that I wasn't available for a podcast while I was with Jack. And he's down there at the harbour. So, when we finished, I'll pop down there to see if he's still there and walk with him home. But I was using, Jack is, I would say he's not looking in the best of condition, but I mean, he's mobile, he can get down, you can have a swim. And I was using my friend who's in England who has locked-in syndrome, which means he's only able to flutter his eyelids to say, Jack, my friend in England would dream of being in the condition you're in. I mean, the fact that you can actually get out of bed and you can go and talk to people. And those are little things popped into my head there because I've been lucky enough to read some literature or listen to some pre-podcast kind of bits of audio to do with people like Ram Dass or Richard Alpert.
Yeah.
Who has lots and lots of wonderful metaphors about just being aware of how lucky we are. I mean, one of the beautiful stories, it is quite a long story the way he tells it, so I'll try and summarize it a little bit. But he talked about going into a bank and just going up to ask the bank clerk for something, and then becoming suddenly aware that this bank clerk is actually related to the first thing to ever exist. I mean, we're all related to the first thing that ever existed. And then the way that thing created the ability to move around and get food, it was almost like became a mobile stomach. And then after a while became the first creature to get out of the sea. And then moved onto land. And then we moved down from the trees into the savannah, and then grew and grew and grew. But it's the way the story goes on. And then at the end of it, he says, but that person still thinks they're a bank clerk.
Right.
The way that our imagination doesn't allow us to see the magnificence of what we are. And that's what I was just talking to my friend Jack about, because Jack is literally, he literally is at the moment. One thing he said to me was, Don, can I have your number? Because if I commit suicide, I'd like you to contact my son. So I'm trying to talk Jack into the fact that he should be lucky to be able to move around on this planet and breathe, and
yeah.
Which is,
it's
I feel that it's feeding my awareness to the fact that I feel lucky. I
right.
live definitely a lot luckier than Jack. I'm certainly a hell of a lot luckier than Pete, who's in the UK. And
right. These
are the things. Let's be aware of how lucky we are to be here on this planet and doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, no, that's right. That definitely makes a lot of sense. Like what we were talking about a minute ago. It's like when you're unable to help people or to just be the person you want to be because you're always so tied up with other things. When you actually get yourself free of those other things, and now you're able to be, it's like you're able to be there for Jack. But I can also imagine it will be frustrating because when he says things like that, about wanting your number for that reason, it's like, geez, man, it would be discouraging for me. But at the same time, I'm also looking at it like, well, at least I'm able to be here.
Can I jump in there? Because this might sound odd, but I'm actually starting to feel, well, if in a way, if that's Jack, how that Jack feels, because that's okay, because I don't. I'm getting to the stage where I don't really perceive death to be a bad thing.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not like I'm gonna hop under a bus or anything. I'm just thinking, well, what? I remember that story about the. I think I might have mentioned on one of your podcasts, the Indian mystic who's on his deathbed and his followers around him crying, and he said, "Why are you crying?" And they said, "You're leaving us." And he said, "Well, where can I go?" This. I don't see life as ever ending now. This might think. The podcast might be getting a bit odd now. With me saying
Well, that reminds me of Nikki Sixx in his second book, which was called "This Is Gonna Hurt," which I highly recommend. And he's written several books now, but his first was The Heroin Diaries. Then the second was called "This Is Gonna Hurt," which was partially a photo out book. Also, it's great. I love "This Is Gonna Hurt," but he'd actually mentioned that, like, living your life in a way that when the end does come, he's like, I want to go into death with a smart ass smirk on my face, knowing whatever happens next is going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, I don't care. I've done this. That's cool. I'm done with that. And I have a smart ass smirk on my face.
In a different bit of it, maybe, or it's like other bit of reality. That's the way I think.
Yeah. I have no doubt about that. So, but yeah. What do you get? What do you think here, Clive?
I just think, again, coming back to expectations and what we're thinking. They say you are what you eat, but you also are what you think. And like Don was saying, comparatively, if you have, you're on the streets or whatever, but actually that's much better than not being able to move at all and not being able to care for yourself. And but it's very hard. It's like, just because I've got a broken ankle, doesn't mean that hurts any less because someone's got a broken back. Obviously I don't want a broken back as well as a broken ankle. But I think expectations are a massive thing, and the way we think about stuff is important. And, you say about protecting your energy, but, we create our own energy, I think. And, I use that analogy when I was talking to you in the messenger about, like the difference we feel if we're expecting something good about to happen, or if we imagine something good is about to happen. It was quite a funny one. I was on Clubhouse and I actually got kind of scammed by this, or tried to be scammed by this Saudi Arabian prince guy. And it was quite interesting. I went along with it. And there was a bit of me thinking, it could be true. He could be genuinely interested in my projects and stuff,
I remember that, yeah.
And then he was like, I'd buy you a house and stuff. And it's like, oh, right. Like this is definitely a scam. But there was a bit in my head that wanted to believe it. And I started feeling good about it. And I just went along with it just for giggles, really. And and it was a really interesting experience. Just this idea that someone might buy me a house, for the altruistic things that I was doing. And I knew they weren't. I was pretty 100% sure they weren't. But a bit of me was going along with it. But they do say, if you imagine something to be real, you actually get the same experience. If you picture yourself and you're meditating and you imagine yourself lying relaxed on a beach, that's how you start to feel inside your body. And it's actually interesting. My 11-year-old daughter used that analogy when she was lying in the dentist chair. I said, you were really brave. And she said, I imagined that I was lying on a beach. And that really helped because I'd heard it on YouTube.
Right. And the more immersive you get in that, the better. I mean, if you can really like close your eyes and feel the sun on your, feel the sun, feel the wind, the whole, the better. And we do get better at imagining things like that.
But this is
and the better you can, bring that in.
The mental diet side of things, we are bombarded every day with the news that, the Russians are going to kill us, or this, that, and the other, the plastics in our brain. And, there's just so much stuff coming at us that it's really hard to go, I'm okay. Actually, I'm a good person regardless. And that's why the meditation that I sent the other day, I found really helpful to have those affirmations of, I am okay. The universe is going to kind of look after you if you try and flow with the universe a bit. And I like this idea, that we are wielding a lot of power. We are, the universe does kind of protect us and look after us. We're going to have our challenges, but if we believe things are going to be okay, we tend to move in a more positive direction. We tend to walk with a bit more confidence. We tend to get people responding to us better. As soon as we start, feeling like the victim, then start to have things happen. And, that is confirmation bias. We start to look out for all the bad things that are going on, start to look for the good things. And it's hard, especially when life is hard. We're not pretending that life is not very, very hard for a lot of
right.
And how you shift your attitude just a little bit, but shielding yourself from the news, from energy vampires, from people who just take and take and take, to be able to put boundaries down, and to put boundaries down within yourself when you start to think in ways that drag you down. Some people do think very negatively all day.
Yeah.
We have thousands of thoughts a day. And if you're thinking negative thoughts all the time, it's going to create quite a negative reality. And it's not to say that you're to blame for that reality, but it's to say that some people think differently and get different results.
Right.
And it's worth looking at.
Yeah. I just finished a book. And most of it, I'm kind of like, I don't know. It's what was it? Nothing in this book is true, but it's exactly how things are. Mm-hmm. And, most of the book, I'm like, okay. But what you just said reminded me, as far as your expectations and things like that are concerned, because it's like, if you expect things to just always be bad, well, then things are definitely always going to be bad. But another aspect of it, or another view this guy put to it, in this book was, he's like, it's good to have positive thoughts and to make sure that you are expecting good things, so that you are projecting that good things are coming to me, or good, things are going to be great. I'm not going to be killed by the Russians or whatever, things like that. But another thing is, he says it's also important to also deal with those feelings that you have. In other words, if you have those feelings coming to you, if it's some kind of fear or anxiety or whatever, sometimes it is good to just look at that, look at that feeling and think, all right, why am I feeling this? And I guess just to sum it up, his point is to come to terms with it and be at peace with the fact that I have this fear, and it's not a good thing to have a fear, but I'm going to look at it and really ask myself the question, why am I afraid of that? And really have a back and forth with yourself about it. And he says, by the time you go back and forth, it's like, why are you afraid of that? Well, because of this. Well, why is that? Well, because of this. Why is that? And by the time you get through a few back and forths of that, when you get to the end of it, you realize how kind of ridiculous the whole thing really is. You explain it to yourself why there's really nothing there to be afraid of. It's just preconditioning. And you can always condition yourself back around.
But it probably was useful at some point. That's the thing.
Well,
I think when we develop our personalities, when we're we things, there's usually at some point that we protect ourselves, but then we just carry that protective bubble too far. And that's that know thyself thing. I think that's the important thing about knowing what kind of character we are. What character we are underneath the protective barrier that we put up as well. I mean,
yeah. That's good. No, that's very good.
I mean, it's one of those things that I always said, I know thyself. Yeah, I know what, they mean. But, I never really got that far in figuring it out because, a lot of the stuff that actually developed at an age that came before the time when I was, aware enough to remember stuff. There were little protective barriers you put up.
This is the thing with
sorry, what?
We're kind of getting into ego and identity, and it is something that I've questioned quite a lot. Recently, is who am I? Am I the person observing my own thoughts? What is my identity? And I think a lot of expectations are linked to the identity and the image that you have of yourself, of who you think you should be in this life. And actually, if you were to erase all of that and then just start to live in the present of what you actually are and what you're experiencing, I think that changes things. I think I heard someone say, a lot of suffering comes, it's a gap between your expectations of what you think should be and what you believe them to be. And actually, if we can start to live in the present, we're not looking at what we should be getting or doing or what we should have done and what we should have been. We're looking at what we're doing now and how that's working out for us. And it's like right now, I'm engaged in this podcast with you guys. We're sharing stuff. That's good. That's within my value set. And I enjoy doing that. And I'm going out for a meal with some people shortly. And life is generally pretty good, So how do we manage to separate all the fears that we have about life? Because like Dom said, we have those as protective features when we're a kid. Well, if I do this and maybe so-and-so won't like me or I'll fall out of this social group or whatever, they were there to protect us. But all of those things now, actually, when you get to our kind of age, I think you've learned and you're working in ways that you go, right, okay, well, I know what the result of that will be if I do that, so I am going to do this instead. We do
to make use of the instead of. I think a mistake is pushing stuff away. That's one problem with a therapist's couch is that I think that people often get told that well, I think historically people assume that they're being told about stuff that they're trying to reject that bit about you and that bit, and then you'll be a good person. Instead of actually saying, well, have a look at what you are and then make use of it. You become that. And I've had that real feeling. I mean, like at the moment I'm playing music and a lot more music and singing and things like that. And today I was learning this Sandy Denny song that it was a very beautiful song. And it's always lamenting the idea of time flowing and stuff like that, and I found it very moving. And I thought, well, what I'm doing in a way is replacing that thing I have from alcohol or drinking, which was I used to like drinking to get into that emotional state where I would be in that zone where I was emotional, like I was emotional when I was a child, and my mother left my father, and I missed my dad. It's almost like I wanted to get into that emotional space where I felt I was close to my father. And that's what I've constantly been doing with booze. And I've replaced it with getting more involved in music and just having my emotions blend more into music, which is actually a very positive thing because I can be very creative when I'm emotional. I can be very, very creative when I'm pissed. It's just not very beneficial for other people. And so now I'm actually being very emotional and creative with music. But actually, an interesting thing with Sandy Denny was there's me just thinking this song that she sang. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but I'll pop it up or something after so you can have a listen.
Yeah, you've got me curious. I'll put that in the show notes if anybody else is curious.
Where Did the Time Go? I think that's the song, and it was a very famous song that ended up basically building her career. But then I found out more about Sandy Denny, and she died when she was 31, and she died basically of alcohol abuse.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, no, actually, no, it's interesting because actually, I mean, the reason she was that kind of emotional person who could write emotional songs that I relate to is because basically we're similar characters in a way. But it's definitely, I've moved in a direction now where instead of drinking on the source, I'm learning one of Sandy Denny's songs. Anyway, there's enough about me. There we go.
That's okay. No, that's good. I'm curious, and if loved ones, if you're curious like I am, then we'll get the name of that song in the description, the show notes description.
Oh, so you know, it's called "Who Knows Where the Time Goes."
Oh, well, okay. There, Who Knows Where the Time Goes by Sandy Denny. I'm going to be checking that out.
The version is by Charlie Louver, who I've never heard of before.
Oh, yeah. I'm not familiar.
I think. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. But as far as like, yes, I mean, kind of bringing it back around, I guess, what we were talking about, like being able to be there for the people that have always been there for you, you know, and like in my case, there was a time where I couldn't have done that. I would have wanted to. I would have even said I was going to. Like if my dad would have called and said, "Hey, I need your help with this, and it's going to take us a few hours, or whatever, Sunday afternoon," you know, I would have said, "Yeah, Dad, I'm going to be there." And in my defense, I will say, when I said that, I meant it. Okay, when I said that, I was like, "Look, I am going to be there. I have every intention of it." But when you're in active addiction, it's not always what you want to do. The addiction's like, yeah, well, you can't do that because at that time you're going to be tied up doing this for the drugs when you have to. So then you end up not showing up, and then of course people that count on you or were counting on you are now disappointed, and then of course you're disappointed in yourself because you let people down and all that. And so it's so nice that when we, I guess, get control of ourselves, and now we're able to be there. And if it takes longer than expected, so what? It's great. It just feels good to be there for people. It feels good to be able to do things. However, like Clive said, you still have to protect yourself, or like the airplane analogy, you still have to take care of yourself, because if you can't take care of yourself, then you're not going to be of any use to people the people who are counting on you. So, and it may sound to some people think, yeah, that sounds a little selfish. It's like, well, I mean, I'm not going to, there are times in your life where it's okay to be selfish.
Yeah.
It may be necessary at times, but it's not really. It's like, look, as I said, if I can't be present and functioning and, well, just of good use, then I'm not, then what's the point? So yeah, you do have to protect yourself there, protect your field, keep all that gunk out so that you're clear and ready to go.
Yeah, I think an interesting thing I heard recently is that happy people don't need to help anyone. And I thought what was interesting about that is that you can choose to help people. You choose, a happy person will choose to help people, whereas they don't need to. Whereas unhappy people quite often will go around helping people because they need stuff in return. And I thought that was
that's interesting.
It flipped it on his head a little bit.
That's good. Wow. That's pretty profound.
Yes, yeah, that is interesting, and it's good. But it's good to have a plethora. It's good to have a whole set of emotions that we can delve into, and a big paint box. Toolbox. I think toolbox maybe is a good blokey metaphor for that one.
Right. Oh, that's good.
So I was kind of throwing that out there. I did have another point attached there, but my mind's gone a little blank on it.
I mean, sorry.
I do feel that, we do help people, and it can be at our own detriment. Like I say, I found that I've done an awful lot for other people in neglect of doing it for myself.
Right.
Like it's quite a good avoiding tactic to go and help people. So again, like Dom was saying, you got to help yourself first, and then you can choose to help the other people.
Yeah.
If you choose to help the other people, but you're floundering, you're going to need help from other people as well. And it's like, well, it just is good to sort yourself out first. I just think, and also to accept help from other people, like people will help, but accepting it again from the right people, helping for the right reasons. A lot of people get into trouble because they let people who help them who need stuff back from them. So you've got to have a little bit of awareness about that. What is someone's motivation behind helping you?
Well, that's one of the things, like speaking of my dad, I mean, that's one of the things he's always said, and that since I can remember, is he's always said, most people are willing to help you with something. Well, most people will, lend you your, their expertise or whatever the case may be. But most people are willing to help you if they know that one, that you need help, and two, what it is that they can do. Most people don't even know. I mean, if you're not going to communicate that to someone, it's like, are you expecting them to be a mind reader or something and know that you need this from them? You can't be that way. It's like, but most people will be willing to help you.
They will.
If they know. Like, using, like, for example, with the website, Clive was more than willing to help me with that. He didn't know that I didn't know what I was doing. But as soon as it became known, it's like, this guy doesn't have a clue what he's doing. Clive jumped in and took care of it for me. And I'm so grateful. And, I really am. And, but it's like that. I mean, it's like he knew that he once he became he became aware of the fact that I needed help with something. He's like, yeah, I can do that. No problem.
I think that's a really good point. You've got to be able to ask for the right help. You've got to know what you're looking for, and you've got to have an idea in mind of what you're going to do with that help. You're not just going to take it and throw it away. And, you said before, addicts are great at getting their way when they want to score, like they're master manipulators. I need a tenner because I've lost my this, that, and the other, and this is happening. They're great at stories. But actually,
that's why drug dealers end up driving very posh cars, because they know that the money comes from the people who need the drugs.
But that's it. If we can apply that back to actually making our lives better, and to looking at what we value, and I think rather than looking at what we want in the future, it's looking at what is important to you and how what you're doing aligns with that. And that's why I really like the meditation stuff that we've been sort of sharing on the WhatsApp group, is it reaffirms that, and it fills your head with this idea that if you start really thinking about what you want to happen and what you want things to be like, and that you are going to be stronger and better and feel more in control, then actually you start to live it. And it is very possible to do that. And with regard to help, they do say, there's an example of an 18-year-old, and he was advised, well, what would you do if you're in my position? A millionaire is asking, he said, how would you help me if, and he said, I would advise you to go and find someone and say, I want you to help me, someone who you really respect and want to be more like. You ask them for their help. You say, I will help you, like run your business or whatever, if you can help teach me how you got there. And, you've got to find who you want to offer advice. So, you've got to find someone that you actually go, well, I look at certain people who talk about spirituality and stuff, and some of them put me on edge a little bit, and some of them make me go, oh my God, you seem very grounded. And I like that. So actually, I would be like to move in that direction in myself,
Right.
So trying to find the right people to follow, I think, is really important.
I was actually talking about that in a video recently.
I might have to disappear now because I think old Jack. I'm just going to walk Jack. Because, I think it's a really good circle. It's like, I think the whole idea of helping yourself to help others, I think that's been one of the common, or the thread of this podcast, and I feel really good about that. I feel like we've had a good chat. So, thanks.
Yes, sir. Yeah, go take care of business, sir.
Yeah, well, take care, Dom.
Cheers, guys.
I think, as Dom's saying, that idea of, really concentrating on ourselves first, gaining help from outside and actually giving a bit back. I mean, I definitely had kind of revelations in my life where I felt that if you take more than you give, that it puts you in a vulnerable position sometimes, you know?
Right.
And some people are just consuming the whole time, you know, not just help, but consuming, like whether you watch stuff and you just take in. And actually, if you actually, you know, go down and you run your allotment and you paint a picture and you make some music and you bake some scones for the local sale and you get involved in running communities, suddenly things start to change and actually your environment gets better because you're mixing with people who are helping each other, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with, you know, when people, I mean, but again, even in sort of like addiction circles, you do get people helping each other, and addicts can be very, very kind people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've said it many times that I love addicts, and in most cases, they're very, very resourceful. I mean, they've always been very resourceful. That's how they were able to maintain a $400 a day habit for years, you know, or whatever the case may be. Maybe not that, but you know, they were able to maintain because they were so resourceful and very creative, but just not in a very positive way. You know, I remember I'd gotten arrested and I was in jail with other people who were addicts, and some of the stories you hear, you know, it's like, I'm like, my goodness, if you would put that much creative energy into doing something positive for yourself, you wouldn't be in this situation, for one, you know. But of course, it's just they're directing their energy towards things that are not doing them any good. But anyway, the point is like you're so smart. You've got so much going for you if you would just direct that energy here instead of there. But you know, where attention goes, energy flows, right?
It does, is it? So what do you do to make yourself feel better now? I mean, obviously, we've both had slightly addictive pasts where we used addictive substances to feel better. And what I found recently, especially, well, not recently, but when I gave up smoking, is that actually finding the gaps where you're feeling like there's something missing because you're not filling that gap with your addiction. That actually I found to be a really motivating factor in, I'm going to tidy up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to start this project. And actually, instead of reaching for a very easy fix, reaching for something that is going to have a long-term impact on my life, like you say. So instead of reaching for a hit, you've gone and helped your dad, you know?
Right.
Quite, you know, and if you were to weigh up the consequences of those two choices, you know, helping your dad leaves you feeling a lot more whole, it leaves your life better, and it leaves you in a much more secure place. So it should actually leave you with a better overall feeling within yourself, I'd have thought, than if you'd chosen the possibly more attractive option.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, I'm just happy that maybe, you know, there is less stress on him, you know, and just to know that he's, you know, just trying to alleviate some stress. That's all, you know, from and help him out. He's gone through a lot. And, but you know, I don't know, that's really just that. It made me think of something that I heard, we may have mentioned this before, but it's, in fact, I think we have, but this is definitely something worth bringing back up. It's do something today that your future self will thank you for. Because it's like, we do so many things during the day. It's like, would my future self thank me for doing this today? And in some cases, maybe yes, but in other cases, it's like my future self, yeah, probably not, you know? I mean, and that's how that was when we were doing that. But now I'm trying to do things on a daily basis now that my future self will look back on and be like, yeah, I'm glad you did that, you know, that day. Like I said at the beginning, I'm looking to take some, and it's not much, but a few weeks worth of some kind of online courses to so I can get a little bit more tech savvy, you know, and all that. But yeah, that would be something that my future self would definitely thank me for, rather than, I don't know, sitting around at a bar and eating freaking chicken wings and swigging beers down. That's not something my future self would thank me for. It's just not.
So that might be a good place to leave it. So do something today that your future self's going to thank you for. And I think that's good advice. And it's that moment-to-moment decision. It's what you're going to do. And, it's little things. I catch myself. Like I'll be sitting waiting for the kettle to boil in the kitchen because I'm British and I drink cups of tea. But you don't even have kettles in America, I don't think. But we have electric kettles and we boil water in them. And they take about 2 minutes to boil sometimes. And, I think, well, actually, I could empty the dishwasher, or I could do this, or I could clear the sink while I'm waiting. Or I could just sit there going, oh, God, what am I going to do today?
Right.
Take small actions, I just think is a great way of protecting your energy. And, the more that you spend doing stuff that is going to make things move forward in a good way, you are going to have more energy from it. You're going to have more good things happen as a result of it. That's what I reckon.
Yeah. Well, I'm good. I appreciate you guys coming on. I was really looking forward to this. I was like, talking to you guys about it, doing another podcast. And because I had taken the time off. And then whenever I kind of came back around, we've still got those things going on, but it's better. It's a little more under control now anyway. And, but I was really looking forward to getting on here with you guys. So I really appreciate you, doing this with me.
No problem.
Very much so. Always do though. But, I was really looking forward to it. Anyway, so you have any final thoughts?
Not really. I've got to go and get off and go and have a social evening, which is always good. People are important. I think we live in a lot of our lives on computers now, and it's good to get off them. But
Sure.
It's nice to chat to you, and we'll catch up again soon.
All right. Well, loved ones, that's what we got for you. I love you, and I'll be back directly.
There is a distance in the light.